Chosen one, take a moment right now and stop everything you are doing. Let a calm stillness come over you. Put aside all your worries, distractions, and busyness for a little while. What I am about to share with you is not just a simple message. It is a powerful call, a sacred invitation. Something deep and eternal happened last night while most of the world was asleep. This was not by chance. It was not unclear or vague. It was all about you. During the quiet and still hours when your body was resting and your mind was peaceful, something amazing was happening in the heavens above. The spiritual realm stirred with a great sense of urgency. The thrones where God's glory rests were lit up with holy fire, shining brighter than ever before. The heavenly councils gathered together, and scrolls that had been hidden away since the very beginning of time were opened again. At the center of this moment, there was one name that echoed powerfully through the halls of eternity. That name was yours. The angels didn't move or speak. They stood silent, filled with awe and respect. Because when your name was spoken, it wasn't quiet or soft. It was strong and powerful, like thunder shining through the light. God said, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you," as it is written in Jeremiah 1:5. Last night, this deep knowing that God has for you was awakened again in heaven. This is not some prophecy waiting to happen someday far away. This is a moment that has already started. You are not walking through life by accident. You are carrying the weight of a holy and divine event that is already moving with you. That dream. Chosen one, take a moment right now and stop everything you are doing. Let a calm stillness come over you. Put aside all your worries, distractions, and busyness for a little while. What I am about to share with you is not just a simple message. It is a powerful call, a sacred invitation. Something deep and eternal happened last night while most of the world was asleep. This was not by chance. It was not unclear or vague. It was all about you. During the quiet and still hours when your body was resting and your mind was peaceful, something amazing was happening in the heavens above. The spiritual realm stirred with a great sense of urgency. The thrones where God's glory rests were lit up with holy fire, shining brighter than ever before. The heavenly councils gathered together, and scrolls that had been hidden away since the very beginning of time were opened again. At the center of this moment, there was one name that echoed powerfully through the halls of eternity. That name was yours. The angels didn't move or speak. They stood silent, filled with awe and respect. Because when your name was spoken, it wasn't quiet or soft. It was strong and powerful, like thunder shining through the light. God said, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you," as it is written in Jeremiah 1:5. Last night, this deep knowing that God has for you was awakened again in heaven. This is not some prophecy waiting to happen someday far away. This is a moment that has already started. You are not walking through life by accident. You are carrying the weight of a holy and divine event that is already moving with you. That dream you had, the heaviness in your chest, the sudden understanding you woke up with this morning, none of it is random. It is the echo, the leftover presence of something holy touching your life in the night. Please do not scroll past these words. Do not ignore this moment. You are standing on sacred ground. Your story is being rewritten right now, not by your own efforts, but by God's hand. God says in Isaiah 43:19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? The change you are waiting for is here, but it requires your choice. You have to decide to walk into this new season with faith and courage." As you begin to move forward in this divine role God has given you, I invite you to declare that you are ready. Type Amen in the comments below as a sign that you accept this call. This is a bold and powerful statement, a way to say that you are ready to step into the purpose God has made just for you. Stay with me through this entire message, because at the end we will close with a special prayer that will align your heart with what heaven has already begun. Now, chosen one, listen with more than your ears or your mind. Listen with your spirit, that part of you that remembers the heavens, that knows the divine and eternal. Last night was not just a small change or a dream that will fade. It was a moment of reckoning, a spiritual awakening that has real power. While your body rested in silence, what was written about you before you were even born was taken out of heaven's archives. It was not simply looked at or suggested. It was enforced. The promises God made about your life were reaffirmed, as it says in Psalm 33:11, "The plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of his heart through all generations." What God decided about you was never just a wish or a hope. It is a purpose that will not be erased or forgotten by heaven. The highest courts of God gathered, not because of a problem or a crisis, but because the right time had finally come. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." Last night, your season changed. This was not because of something you did or did not do. It was because God has never forgotten the promises made over your life. This is why the archangels stood still, and why heaven seemed to hold its breath. The decision about your life was not just to confirm what was already true. It was a reversal of the delays, the struggles, and the silent battles you have faced. All the times you thought your prayers were unheard, the moments when hope seemed to disappear into silence, none of it was forgotten. Every small act of faith, every quiet cry, every kind thing you did when no one was watching, it was all recorded by heaven. Now, as Revelation 8:4 describes, the prayers of God's people are like incense rising before God from the angel's hand. Your prayers have reached God's throne and are returning to you now with power and strength, like thunder. What was hidden and buried deep inside you is being raised up. What was silenced for so long is now being called out and made known. When your scroll, the record of your life, was opened before God's throne, a brilliant light poured out. This light revealed not only God's plans for you, but also the enemy's tricks and traps that have surrounded your path. It showed the invisible fences built to block your progress, things you couldn't explain before. The lost chances, the painful relationships, the invisible wounds. Heaven saw it all, and now heaven is answering. This is not a made-up story or something from a dream. There are people waking up feeling a holy stillness in the room, not knowing that their name was just spoken in the unseen realms. Some have cried without understanding why, not realizing that their spirit is responding to a battle being fought for them in heaven. Maybe you are one of those people. The timing of this message is no accident. It was perfectly timed for your awakening. For too long, certain dark forces thought they could take away what God gave you. They lied about your worth, trying to make you doubt yourself. They put up barriers to keep you small and stuck. But, as Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you will succeed, and every tongue that speaks against you will be silenced." Last night, every lie and accusation was shut down. Every false alliance was exposed. Even someone close to you, someone who spoke kindly in public but secretly worked against you, was revealed in full light. This is not about revenge or anger. It is about divine justice. When the truth came out, heaven celebrated. It was like the moment when Jesus rose from the dead. Light exploded, the heavens shook, and joy filled all of creation. God declared, "I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten," as Joel 2:25 says. This is not just a hopeful promise for the future. It is happening now. Some people will doubt it, question it, or reject it, but your spirit knows the truth. If your heart is stirred by these words, it is not because someone convinced you. It is because your soul remembers. This is not the first time heaven has moved for you. This is simply the most visible movement yet. The gate is open now, but not a gate made of wood or stone. It is a spiritual gate. It is burning not with fire that hurts, but with glory that cleanses and purifies. Standing at this gate are real angels, not just symbols, waiting for you to agree with what heaven has already decided. God does not need your permission to bless you. He does not need your approval to pour out favor on your life, but He does call you to align your heart and your steps with His plan. The miracle is at your door. Only those who see it and choose to walk through will enter into the fullness of what God has for them. There is a man in the Bible named Joseph, whose story is in the book of Genesis. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold as a slave, and thrown into prison for things he didn't do. But God never left him. At the right time, Joseph was lifted up not by his own strength or cleverness, but by God's perfect timing. Joseph's story was never about revenge or proving himself. It was about God's timing and God's plan. Like Joseph, your difficulties and trials have not disqualified you. Instead, they have prepared you. This is not a new or strange path you are on. It is the same ancient path God laid out long ago, even before you were born. Now, with heaven watching and eternal witnesses surrounding you, God declares, the time is now. What was held back is released. What was stolen is returned. What was hidden is revealed. Last night was not just a small shift or a dream that needs to be interpreted loosely. It was a great and permanent change, a divine act of heaven that cannot be undone. Something powerful was announced in the highest realms, and it is still echoing through all creation. The unseen spiritual worlds were shaken. The thrones of heaven stood ready and alert. The eternal order of the universe bent to make room for this one burning command. And still, this morning, heaven is asking, why does the chosen one not yet see? This was no ordinary night. While the world slept, and you moved through your quiet hours without knowing it, something ancient and powerful was awakened. A call, fierce and urgent, echoed through dimensions that have never known rest. It was not a trumpet blast or a quiet whisper. It was the voice of the Ancient of Days himself, the voice of God. When God speaks, nothing He made can stay the same. Last night, that voice called the divine council to action. The heavenly chambers filled with a light so bright that human eyes cannot see it. Thrones were lit with eternal fire, lined up in serious and solemn formation. At the center of this heavenly courtroom was your scroll, the full story and legacy of your life. What happened next was not a ceremony or a celebration. It was a battle fought as justice. An angel appeared, holding the full record of your pain. Every lie told to you, every betrayal you quietly endured, every promise broken behind your back, every delay you suffered but did not cause it was all there. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You collect all my tears in your bottle. You record every one in your book." Nothing was missed. No loss or heartbreak was ignored. No secret attack or hidden sabotage escaped the eyes of God. Then Michael, the commander of heaven's armies, appeared. He did not come quietly or softly. He came with the fierce power of divine protection. His sword, shining brighter than entire galaxies, was drawn, not to hurt, but to separate truth from lies. With a voice so strong it silenced all of heaven, Michael declared, "This far and no further." These words were not a warning. They were a final command. When he spoke, a thunder-like sound rolled through all creation. Structures that had stood in your way began to crack and fall apart. Invisible prisons made from the harmful words others spoke, from fears you inherited, and from patterns you never agreed to were broken by the fire of heaven. You may not have known you were trapped, but heaven knew. You could not see how long the delays lasted, but God saw everything. With a single word, the delays shattered like glass. But what happened next? made even the archangels pause in awe. From the group of heavenly beings, a figure stepped forward. Someone connected to your life, a familiar face, someone you trusted. But this person had a hidden side. Though you didn't see what they did, heaven recorded every movement. Hidden plans, secret alliances, quiet attempts to stop your progress at the root. They thought they were invisible, but heaven saw all. When God's light flooded the courtroom, no shadow could hide. Their mask broke and their lies were exposed. Their plans were not only revealed but judged, not with anger, but with holiness. And then something amazing happened. Your scroll began to glow. It wasn't fire that burned it, but a bright glory. Gabriel, the messenger of God, came forward with a shining light that flowed like rivers. He opened the scroll with your name on it. What was written with evil and damage by others was erased. Every sentence of sabotage was wiped away without a trace. Your destiny, once delayed, was not only restored, but pushed forward faster than before. Isaiah 60:22 says, "The least of you will become 1,000, and the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord, and in its time I will do this swiftly." And so it happened. A loud roar filled the court, not one of confusion, but of victory. It was not heaven celebrating itself, but celebrating you. Not because of what you did, but because of what you carry inside. Because of what you have survived and what was taken from you that must now be returned. Heaven did not only replace what was lost. Heaven multiplied it many times over. Time, opportunities, relationships, confidence, and clarity, all were commanded to be given back and doubled. Just like God restored Job, not with pity but with purpose, He now speaks over you. Instead of shame, you will receive a double blessing, as Isaiah 61:7 promises. Even as the scroll burned with glory and the angels stood amazed, you woke up without knowing what had happened. The heaviness in your chest, the sudden flood of emotion, the tears you couldn't explain, it wasn't confusion. It was the imprint of heaven's decree pressing on your waking life. You may have wondered why the air around you feels different, why your spirit feels heavy and yet full of hope at the same time. It is not anxiety or fear, it is alignment. Something inside you is responding to what has already been decided in the higher realms beyond human understanding. Now comes the truth that few are ready to hear. This great decree is active and working, but it will not stay open forever. It is a gate opened by God's mercy, held open by His grace, and it will close at the perfect time. God is not forcing your next move. He is simply showing you what stands before you right now. He waits for you to choose to step forward in faith and walk through the door He has opened for you. Chosen one, pause now. Let stillness wash over you. Set everything else aside, because what you're about to hear is not a message. It's a summons. Something eternal shook the foundations of heaven while the world lay sleeping. And it was not random. It was not vague. It was about you. In the silent hours of the night, while your body rested, the heavens stirred with divine urgency. The thrones of glory lit with holy fire. The councils gathered. Scrolls hidden since the dawn of time were unsealed. And at the heart of it all, one name echoed across the halls of eternity. Your name. The angels did not move. They stood still, cloaked in awe. Because when your name was declared, it wasn't whispered. It was thundered through light. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, said the Lord. Jeremiah 15. Last night, that knowing was reawakened in the heavens. Not a prophecy waiting for someday, but a moment that has already begun. You're not wandering by accident. You're walking under the weight of a divine event, and even now its power follows you. That dream you had, the ache in your chest, the sudden clarity this morning, it's not random. It's residue. Something holy touched your life last night. Do not scroll, do not turn away. This is sacred ground. Your story is being rewritten, not by your hand but by his. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. The shift is here, but you must choose to walk in it. Now, as you step forward into this divine role, I invite you to declare your readiness. Type A, men, in the comments below, as a sign of your acceptance, as a bold statement that you are ready to step into your God-given purpose and stay with this message until the very end, because we'll close with a powerful prayer to align your heart with what heaven has already begun. So now, chosen one, listen with your spirit, not your mind, not your emotions, but the part of you that remembers heaven. Last night was not simply a shift, it was a reckoning. While your body lay still in the quiet hours, what was written about you before you were born was pulled from the archives of heaven. It was not reviewed. It was not suggested. It was enforced as written in Psalm 33:11. But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of his heart through all generations. What was decided about you was not a hope. It was a purpose, and heaven will not permit that purpose to be erased. The courts of the Almighty were convened not because of a crisis, but because the appointed time had arrived. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." And last night your season changed, not because of anything you did or failed to do, but because heaven never forgot what was promised over your life. And this is why the archangel stood still. This is why heaven held its breath, because the verdict concerning your life was not just an affirmation. It was a reversal. Years of delay, silent warfare, prayers you thought went unheard, moments where hope seemed to dissolve into silence. It was never forgotten. Every seed of faith, every whispered cry, every act of kindness done in secret, they were recorded. And now, as Revelation 8:4 describes, the smoke of the incense together with the prayers of God's people went up before God from the angel's hand. Your prayers have risen, and now they return as thunder. What was once buried is being raised. What was silenced is being called forth. And when your scroll was unsealed before the throne, light poured out with a force that revealed not only the plans of God, but the strategies of the enemy that had surrounded your path like invisible fences. Years you couldn't explain, opportunities that slipped through your fingers, relationships that left wounds no one could see, but heaven saw and heaven answered. This is not fiction. There are those who wake from sleep and feel a weight in the room, a holy stillness, not knowing their name had just been spoken in realms unseen. There are those who have wept without knowing why, not realizing their spirit is responding to a war fought on their behalf. You may be among them. The timing of this message is not random. It was timed to your awakening. For too long, certain forces believed they had the right to tamper with your inheritance. They whispered lies about your worth. They drew lines to keep you contained. But as Isaiah 54:17 reminds us, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. And last night, every whisper of accusation was silenced, every counterfeit alliance was exposed, and someone who stood near you, whose words were sweet in public but sharp in private, was uncovered in full light. This is not about vengeance. It's about justice, divine justice. And when the truth was revealed, the hosts of heaven responded as they did when Christ emerged from the tomb. Light burst forth, sound shook the firmament, and joy roared across the heavens. For the Lord has declared, I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten. Joel 2:25. And this is not a hopeful promise, and what was decided in your favor cannot be ignored or left unnoticed. This moment you are living in, this stretch of time that seems ordinary but feels different, is not just another season in your life. It is much more than that. It is a special and holy window of opportunity. before the full truth is revealed, before the last curtain is pulled back to show you everything that heaven has planned, there is one more important truth you must know. This truth is deeper than anything you have seen or experienced so far. It is not about your enemies being exposed or the blessings you will receive returning to you. It goes beyond that, much deeper. It is about what heaven did inside of you, quietly and carefully, while the battles were being fought on your behalf in the spiritual realm. While the heavens were fighting for your future and making decisions that would change everything for you, there was another very important work taking place. This work was not loud or obvious, but it was powerful and real. It was the healing and restoration of the temple that is your very self, your inner being, your spirit, your soul. After the thunder of the court in heaven had quieted and the fiery announcements had settled down into peace, a new and gentle movement began. This movement was not about fighting or war, but about healing, rebuilding, and bringing new life. The angels who had been like fierce warriors just moments before now moved softly and carefully, like midwives bringing new life or builders restoring a broken home. Instead of holding swords and shields, these angels carried instruments of light and oil, tools for healing and making whole. Their mission was not to defend against an enemy, but to carefully rebuild and restore what had been broken inside you. It was not about justice this time, but about a new kind of resurrection happening inside your soul. Heaven understood something very important that many people forget. If your spirit is cracked and wounded by pain and sadness, even the most wonderful future will be too heavy for you to carry. If the inside of you is broken, then no matter what blessings come your way, they will feel like a burden instead of a gift. The Bible says in Psalm 51:6, "You desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you make me to know wisdom." This means God cares deeply about what is inside you, in the secret places of your heart and spirit. So heaven did not come only to give back what was lost or stolen from you. It came to remake and renew who you are from the inside out. You might not be able to remember this with your mind right now, but your spirit knows. Deep inside you, there are still quiet echoes of that divine touch, like a soft whisper or a gentle breeze that reminds you something holy has happened. Last night, even though no one could see it with human eyes, the powerful angels of God came close to you. They laid their hands on the broken and cracked parts of your spirit, those places you have hidden even from yourself. They touched the pain you never spoke out loud, the questions and doubts you buried deep beneath your daily struggle to keep going. They touched the parts of you that have been hardened by disappointment and dulled by long seasons of waiting. One by one, those sacred wounds were met with something amazing. Not punishment or judgment, but light. Not just any kind of light, but the living, breathing light of God's very presence. This is the light John wrote about in the Bible, the true light that gives light to everyone, John 1:9. This light was not random or careless. It had purpose and understanding. It moved gently like water, but it was as strong and steady as stone. It did not just shine and make things look better. It actually healed and fixed what was broken. It made stable what had become unstable inside you. It rewrote the parts of your story that had been rewritten by pain and hurt. It brought back to life what had been stuck and silent during long, cold winters of your heart. The angels touched your mind where confusion had taken root. They touched your heart where grief and sadness had settled. They strengthened the very core of your soul, preparing it to carry the great things that are coming your way. Heaven knew something very important. Having a restored calling or purpose means very little if you cannot hold it inside you. You might have a powerful destiny, but if your spirit is weak or broken, that destiny will be too much to bear. Just like the walls of Jerusalem had to be rebuilt before the temple could be filled with glory, Nehemiah 6:15-16, your inner being needed to be rebuilt before you could fully step into your divine assignment. This is the reason you feel what you feel now, the strange calm and peace that you did not try to create yourself, the quiet strength rising inside you without warning, the clear understanding coming into your mind where there used to be fog and confusion. This is not just a feeling or mood, and it is not a coincidence. It is the solid foundation that has been built underneath your feet by God's own hand. It is the after effect of divine craftsmanship, the work of heaven carefully restoring and preparing you. Heaven did not simply give back what was stolen or taken from you. It refitted you and made you stronger so you could carry more than ever before. Some callings, some purposes are too heavy for a broken or tired soul. Some responsibilities need not only faith, but also great strength and endurance. Before the final word was spoken about your future, God made sure that your spirit and soul would not break under the pressure of what is coming. So, heaven rewrote more than just your story on the scroll. It rewrote your very being. It recalibrated your emotions, replacing exhaustion with strength and resilience. It gave you wisdom and discernment where there had once only been doubt. The same spirit that hovered over the deep in the beginning of creation hovered over you in the silence of last night, Genesis 1. In that quiet moment, order returned where there had been chaos inside you. Now, as you move forward, even if you are not fully aware yet, you are not the same person you were before. You are moving forward in a new structure of your being, something stronger, purified, and more powerful. Heaven does not just give blessings, it gives the ability and capacity to hold on to those blessings. So when the final veil is lifted, when the last mystery is revealed and the full weight of your calling is placed on your shoulders, you will not fall or crumble under the load. You will rise, walking forward not just as someone who was saved, but as someone rebuilt and strengthened by God's own hand. You have already heard the verdict that was spoken in your favor. You have seen in your spirit the exposure of those who tried to sabotage your life, the release of blessings that were long delayed, and the rewriting of your story on the scroll of heaven. But all of that was only the beginning, the opening act of what is coming. There was one moment kept secret until now, a moment so sacred and powerful that it changed everything. When the court of heaven agreed and the throne room was filled with the glory of justice, something happened that has only happened a few times since the world was made. Your name rose up, not just as a symbol or spiritual idea, but like a banner waving high in battle, lifted by light, supported by the breath of God Himself. Your name came out from the scroll like a flame burning brighter than anything words can describe. Every angel stopped moving, their wings frozen in the air. A deep silence came over everything, so complete that it felt like even time was holding its breath. Then the Ancient of Days, the Lord Himself, stood up from His throne. This is a very serious and rare moment in heaven. Throughout the Bible, God is mostly described as sitting on His throne, watching, ruling, and reigning. But there are special moments when He stands. When Stephen was killed for his faith, he saw Jesus standing at the right hand of God, Acts 7:56, not sitting but standing. This posture means God is ready to act directly and personally. And last night, God stood up again for you. His robe, shining with living light, moved like a wave of purity through the court. The flame that lit the room bent toward Him in worship. Even Michael, the great warrior angel, bowed his head. Gabriel, the messenger with a voice like thunder, folded his wings in respect. From the center of that deep silence came a voice so powerful it carried galaxies on its breath. The voice said, "Restore everything that was withheld. Accelerate all that was delayed. Release every blessing that belongs to my chosen one." As soon as those words were spoken, the heavens exploded with glory. Scrolls flew open like doors being thrown wide in a storm. Chains that held you captive not only broke, they disappeared. Ancient records were changed. Plans were rewritten. Assignments that had been waiting for years were sent out like lightning. What you thought would take many years was suddenly approved in moments. But this is not the part that caused the angels to tremble. What came next was even more astonishing. Your destiny did not just come back to you. It grew and expanded beyond what you could imagine. God did not only return what was lost, He gave you everything you would have had if no one had ever tried to stop you or delay you. The years lost were poured back into your life, not counted one by one, but multiplied greatly. Strength came to you in and greater measures. Opportunities appeared that you didn't even know once belonged to you. Then something truly amazing happened. The scroll with your story and your destiny, was placed into your hands, not just as a vision or symbol, but in a real and spiritual way. An angel of light, appointed by God for your life, stepped forward and handed you the scroll. The pages were written in golden ink, glowing and sealed with the mark of God Himself. This scroll could no longer be changed or touched by anyone else. It was sealed with living, eternal light that no one could break or undo. Your spirit, even though resting, accepted what was given to you. But here is the mystery that made heaven wonder. While your spirit received this blessing and new destiny, your mind has not caught up yet. Your voice has not yet spoken the words of the new decree. Your heart has not fully understood the greatness of what has happened. That is why the angels who were in awe just hours ago now cry out, not in confusion but with longing. They wonder, how can the chosen one not know? How can they walk as if nothing has changed, as if the night did not shake the heavens? This is why you feel the pressure and stirring inside you today, the holy unrest you cannot explain. It is not just an emotion or stress. It is the echo of heaven moving through your whole body, calling every part of you to wake up. Because what happened last night was not about getting back what you lost. It was about claiming what is now fully yours. The old paths are closed. The cycles of pain and delay have ended. The enemy's legal claims over your life have been silenced. The land and future God has prepared for you are back in your hands. Heaven will not allow you to go on another day unaware of this truth, but there is still one last thing to be revealed. The battle you have faced was not random. The enemy's attacks were not accidental. The person who stood against you did not work alone. Heaven has kept this final truth hidden for those who must understand the reason before they can carry the blessing. Why were you targeted? Why was the battle so hard? Why did heaven respond with such power? That truth is very close now. It is the last key that will explain everything. During the court session last night, something so sacred and final happened that even the angels who have stood since the beginning of time bowed in silence. The verdict was spoken. Your scroll was rewritten in fire. Your inheritance was restored. Your future was opened wide. The enemy's control over your path was cut off. But God was not finished yet. The throne room was silent, waiting as God spoke one last command: reveal the enemy. The court darkened, not from fear but from the weight of God's justice coming down. A veil was lifted, and standing there was not a stranger or some distant threat. It was someone who was once close to you. Heaven showed what had been hidden right in front of you. Face of the one who tried to stop you. Not some symbol or idea of an enemy, but a real person who once had access to your life, to your voice, to your pain, and to your peace. They had been close enough to see things no one else did. But instead of protecting you, they slowly tried to stop the flow of God's blessings in your life. Their betrayal was not loud or obvious. It was quiet and hidden, like a poison wrapped in kindness. This is how sabotage works often. It is hidden under the cover of familiarity, disguised as support, and wrapped in words that sound nice but are full of jealousy, fear, or control. Heaven revealed all of this. The secret criticisms said behind your back, the manipulation disguised as advice, the hidden spiritual agreements made in darkness that tried to trap you in limits. Psalm 64. 5-6 talks about these kinds of people. They encourage each other in evil plans. They talk about hiding their traps. They say, "Who will see it?" They plot injustice and say, "We have a perfect plan." The human mind and heart can be very clever, but God sees the truth deep inside the heart. Last night, God judged not only what your enemy did, but the reasons and intentions behind their actions. Their alliances fell apart. Their words, written down in heaven's records, were silenced. Their secret control over your life was broken in an instant. Michael's sword came down. Gabriel's voice sealed the final decision. The sound that followed was not one of anger or revenge, but a sound of release and freedom. Heaven knew this well. Taking away the enemy was not enough because they had left behind marks. Their words had affected your choices. Their limits had become a part of your inner world, like thorns hidden under a garden surface. These thorns had grown in your confidence, your timing, and your clarity. So, heaven removed not only the enemy but also the effects they had on you. The hesitation that stayed with you, the heavy weight clinging to your steps, the endless cycle of almost but never quite reaching your goal. Isaiah 58:12 says, "Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and raise up the old foundations." You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with homes. This was not just a figure of speech. It was a real mission, and it began with you. This is why today feels different, not because you suddenly feel strong, but because the fog has lifted. Something inside you knows truth, even if your mind cannot explain it yet. The pressure you feel in your chest is not anxiety. It is your spirit stretching and reclaiming space. The stirring in your soul is not confusion. It is the sound of a gate opening inside your life. The absence of resistance is not emptiness. It is the peace you have been waiting for finally settling in. And heaven did not stop there, because this was not just about freedom. It was about finding your new place and position. After everything was cleared away, the Ancient of Days stood again and said, "Lift their name higher." Your name rose again, not in pride but in perfect alignment with God's plan. It went higher than every accusation, above every delay, beyond every limit others tried to place on you. You were raised in the Spirit, your status increased, and your reach expanded, not because of anything you did, but because God decided it. Like David, who was chosen to be king while still a young shepherd tending sheep, your environment may not show your new status, but your scroll in heaven does. The angels watched in amazement, not at your power, but at the trust God has placed in you. God does not give authority to those who are not ready. He does not hand over responsibility to those who are not formed and tested. You have been formed in fire, shaped by pain, refined in silence, and tested through waiting. What God has placed on you was not random. It was earned through your surrender and faith. But angels also saw something else. They saw you wake up this morning and carry the weight of yesterday, as if heaven had not rewritten your tomorrow. They saw you hesitate, still caught by thoughts and fears that no longer belong to the new you. That is why the angels tremble, not because they are afraid, but because they know this truth must be accepted to be lived. What heaven has done for you cannot be undone, but it must be recognized and accepted before you can walk fully in it. You cannot own what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot open the door if you still believe it is locked. So, the final command was spoken. The gate will remain open for only a little while longer. The time is coming when it will close. You must wake up before that happens. Heaven fell silent. Michael bowed his head. Gabriel lowered his trumpet. The angels leaned forward in quiet waiting, not for another miracle, but for your agreement. Heaven is not waiting to act anymore. Heaven is waiting for you to recognize the truth, for your spirit and mind to become one, for your voice to speak what has already been written. Chosen one, this is your moment, not a symbol or a hope for the future. The gate stands open now. The miracle you have prayed for has reached your door. The future you have fasted for is here. The clarity you begged for is at hand. The answers you cried out for have arrived, but they will not force themselves into your life. Like the promised land given to Israel, you must step Into it, you must claim it and walk in it. God told Joshua in Joshua 1:3, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. The land was theirs, but they had to walk into it to possess it. Now heaven is watching you. The enemy has been removed. Your scroll has been rewritten, your blessings multiplied, your authority restored, your path cleared, the gate is open. The only question left is, will you step forward? And the angels still whisper, urging you to stay awake, to move forward, to know that this is your hour of awakening. This is your divine reversal, your heavenly inheritance, your release from chains, your new birth, your rising. It is done. Now, chosen one, walk in it. Chosen one, before you cross the threshold into the new reality heaven has prepared for you, there is something sacred you must understand, something many miss as they chase after their divine promises. Heaven may open the door for you. Angels might bring the scroll that holds your destiny, and the Most High God may speak your promotion and elevation in the courts of heaven. But what happens after that is not written in the heavens. It is written by your own hands, your own feet, your breathing, and the choices you make every day. The heavenly decision starts the change, the miracle, but it is your agreement through your daily life, your actions and attitude that keeps that miracle alive and moving forward. The great work that happened while the world was asleep was not meant to stay hidden, locked away where no one can see it. It was meant to spread out and affect your thoughts, your habits, the way you spend your time, and even the words you speak. What was done in the spirit now needs to be acted out in the physical world. This is not about following rituals or just doing things by routine. It is about living in alignment with what God has declared over your life. Alignment is what gives shape and power to the promises spoken over you. So listen to this not as a list of chores or rules, but as a holy invitation to join in with God's timing and plan. Start each day with a clear purpose in your heart. Stop waking up as if the day is just going to be like any other day you have already lived. Don't rise as if you are just surviving. Rise as someone who has been given a crown of purpose, someone who knows they are meant for something great. When you open your eyes in the morning, take a moment to pause and breathe. Let your first words be a simple but powerful reminder of what God has already done. Today, I will live in the blessing heaven has given me. Saying this quietly in the morning can change everything. It is the difference between sleepwalking through your calling and fully stepping into the purpose God has for you. The Bible reminds us in Lamentations 3:23 that God's mercy is new every morning. So walk like someone who has been made new every single day. Then, take time to clear the clutter inside your mind and heart. Even though the enemy was removed by heaven's power, some effects of their influence may still remain in your soul. The doubts they planted, the fears they stirred, the heaviness and confusion that settled over time. These things do not always leave quickly or easily. They leave slowly. Through your attention and by agreeing with the truth of God's Word, every day set aside a few minutes, 5 minutes or even 3, and sit quietly in silence. If an old fear or worry comes up, don't fight it with anger or force. Simply tell it this: you no longer have power here. You do not have authority over me. This is not pretending the fear is not real. It is speaking the truth that matches the heavenly verdict already declared over your life. Next, look carefully at the people and things around you, not just your home or work environment, but the people you spend time with and listen to. Heaven showed you who was working against your spirit and blocking your progress, but sometimes the echo of their influence remains in the voices you hear daily. Sometimes the person who slows you down is not an enemy, but someone who cares for you but has not yet seen what God is doing in your life. Look at these relationships not with suspicion or anger, but with wisdom and understanding. The Bible says in Proverbs 13:20, "Walk with the wise and become wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm." Choose to spend time with people who bring clarity, encouragement, and peace, not confusion or fear. Guard your peace quietly and firmly. You don't need to confront or argue with everyone. Sometimes all you need to do is change your position and move away in a calm way. Then begin to take steps forward. Even small steps count. Even if you feel unsure, unready, or unqualified, move anyway. Even if the full vision of your future is not clear yet, take the next small step. Movement is necessary for your progress to pick up speed. If you have been praying for healing, start by resting well, eating nourishing food, and being honest with yourself. If you have asked God for provision or help with money, start with one wise financial decision. If you want to grow spiritually or emotionally, begin with one verse of Scripture, one prayer, or one question for God. God blesses and multiplies faith-filled movement, not perfection or performance. Remember the story of the widow in 2 Kings 4 who had only a small jar of oil. The miracle only happened when she began to pour out what little she had. The pouring was her step of faith, and God provided the rest. Your small steps are the pouring out. Trust God to handle the overflow and abundance that will come. Write down what God has restored in your life. Write down what you choose to let go of and what you are committing to walk toward. Write these things on paper, on your phone, or even on your mirror. Writing them is not just about remembering. It creates holy places in your heart, altars, and stones of remembrance. Just like Joshua placed stones in the Jordan River to remember how God made a way for the Israelites, you too create reminders to never forget what God has done for you. When people ask why these reminders are there, you can tell them, "This is where God made a way for me." Joshua 4:6-7. Protect your mind carefully. The enemy is gone, but old patterns of thinking can be stubborn and try to sneak back in through old doors in your mind. Fear may knock on your door again. Shame might try to disguise itself as humility, and discouragement may come in a familiar voice. Do not accept these thoughts as truth. Speak gently but firmly to these lies. This thought is not from God. I choose to believe the truth. You don't have to argue with darkness. Light doesn't argue, it simply shines. Stay open to unexpected ways God might move in your life. When God works, the doors He opens don't always look like doors. Sometimes they look like a small comment someone makes, a meeting that is delayed, or an invitation you almost ignored. God doesn't only guide through loud thunder or dramatic miracles. He also guides through whispers, quiet changes in timing, and subtle feelings of peace. Pay attention to what makes your heart feel drawn forward and what gives you peace. Sometimes God's way comes like a gentle breeze, just like Elijah heard God not in the earthquake or fire, but in the still small voice on the mountain. Finally, live with expectation, not with desperation like someone begging for help, but with the confidence of someone who belongs. You are not trying to get God's attention because you already have it. You are not trying to win His favor because you have already been chosen. Walk through your day knowing your name was called in heaven's court and marked with light. Speak with the confidence of someone God has entrusted. Decide with wisdom of someone God protects. Breathe in the peace of someone whose path has already been cleared. You are no longer waiting for a breakthrough. The breakthrough has already come. You are not standing at the edge of what might be. You are standing inside the promise God has already made true. You don't have to force what God has already ordained. You only need to live as though it is real and true. When your daily life lines up with the decree God has already made, something holy happens. What was once invisible becomes clear. What was once only a spiritual truth becomes visible in your life. What was once just a promise becomes your new normal. Heaven moved first, and now it is your turn to move. And now, as heaven's decree echoes deep inside your spirit, and the last soft flames of this truth rest gently on your soul, let this truth be your foundation. You are not the same person you were before this moment of revelation. You are not the person you were before this truth was shown to you. What was once hidden inside you has now been brought to light. not just about what God has called you to do, but about your strength, your ability to keep going, and your connection with the heart of God. The journey you have just walked through in spirit is not a story or a dream. It is the real divine truth behind what you live every day. You have been called back to remember not only what heaven did for you last night, but who you have always been in God's eyes. Before you ever faced hardship or pain, God already knew His glory would touch your life. Before betrayal came to your door, God's mercy had already made a way to restore you. Before lies could be spoken to hurt your identity, heaven had already written the truth over you, and now that truth must be lived out in your life. This is your time, not just to believe, but to live it out fully, to stand up with a new confidence, to walk with a new boldness, and to move forward with holy certainty. God does not give His great promises to empty vessels. He gives them to people who are ready and able to carry them. And beloved, that person is you. Heaven has not just given you back what was lost. It has made you strong and trustworthy enough to carry even more. This is the power of divine reversal. You are not left to pick up broken pieces of your life. You have been given something unbreakable. The scroll of your destiny was not only placed in your hands, it was sealed forever, sealed with God's promise, sealed with His very breath. Do not make this small by going back to old thoughts that don't fit the new you. Do not slow your steps to match the rhythm of the past. What has been rewritten cannot be undone, but it must be remembered and lived out. Live as if you were truly chosen. Breathe as if the gate to your future is still wide open. Make decisions as if heaven is watching you closely, because it is. Beloved, before we come into this quiet time of prayer together, I invite you to calm your heart and mind. Let the noise of the day settle down. What you are about to pray is not just asking for something. It is a response to what heaven has already done for you. This prayer is not about begging for miracles. It is about stepping into the miracle that is already yours. So take a deep breath and let your soul remember who you really are and whose you are. Abba Father, Ancient of Days, you who formed the stars and still remember my name, I come before you now, not as a stranger, not as someone begging, but as someone called by heaven, drawn by your light, and pulled by your love. I come not in fear, but with holy awe, because what you have spoken over my life is too important to ignore, too sacred to push aside, too real to keep silent about. Father, I thank you for what was written in the courts of heaven last night while the world slept. I thank you for the scroll with my name on it. I thank you for the fire that ignited it, and the seal that no enemy can break. I thank you for the verdict that declared restoration, quick progress, and release. I thank you that what was once withheld is now coming to me. What was once delayed is now happening right before my eyes. You are the God who sees in secret. Last night you saw everything, every battle I never spoke about, every bit of tiredness hidden behind my smile, every betrayal I quietly endured, every prayer I couldn't put into words. And still you came, not with anger but with rescue. You sent angels. You broke strongholds. You uncovered the enemy. You removed the hidden traps, the quiet chains of delay, and the small voices of doubt. For that I say thank you. But God, I don't just thank you for what you took away. I thank you for what you rebuilt. I thank you for the healing in the hidden parts of my spirit, for the light you poured into cracks I had forgotten about, for making my inner world right again, for bringing back my joy, and for strengthening me. Lord, you didn't just restore my path, you restored me. You touched the temple of my being and made it whole once more. Today, Father, I choose to rise differently. I choose to walk as someone who has been rewritten by your hand. Let my thoughts line up with your heavenly decree. Let my feelings show the peace you have given me. Let my choices come from wisdom, not from past wounds. I refuse to agree with any thought that tells me I am still stuck, broken, or waiting. I declare the waiting is over. The time is now, and Lord, for every place in me that still feels unsure, for every moment when fear tries to whisper again, I ask you to remind me of the night heaven stood still for me. Remind me that you stood for me. Remind me that my name was lifted before the throne, not with shame but with glory. And when my voice grows quiet, let my spirit repeat the decree you have already spoken. Restore everything that was withheld, speed up all that was delayed, give back every part that belongs to me. Jesus, you are the gate. You said in John 10:9, whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. So I step through the gate you opened, I claim what you purchased, I receive what you released. I will not wait passively while heaven waits for me to agree. Today I say yes, yes to the elevation, yes to the healing, yes to the next assignment, yes to the life you wrote for me before I took my first breath. Holy Spirit, breathe through every part of my day. Teach me how to protect the truth I now carry. Show me where to say yes and where to say no. Whisper when it is time to move. Roar when I forget who I am. Let me live not with desperation, but with expectation, not as someone begging for a breakthrough, but as someone walking in what has already been decreed. I pray for divine awareness to fill my surroundings. Help me to notice the doors you open even when they don't look like doors. Help me to follow the quiet nudges, the holy whispers and the divine meetings hidden in ordinary moments. Help me not to miss your leading through the still small voice. And when I feel like stepping back, shrinking away, or questioning the timing, remind me the scroll has already been sealed. The gate is already open. The miracle is already mine. And Lord, I ask for courage. Courage to live differently, to love boldly, to think clearly, to let go of what no longer belongs, to speak as one who was chosen in secret, to act as one who has been trusted with great things in the Spirit. Let my steps follow the rhythm of heaven. Let my life show the proof of what you did during the night. Father, I seal this prayer not by trying hard, but by surrendering, not by performing, but by being present. Let everything I do from now on reflect the holy moment you invited me into. May my very breath become a song of remembrance, a declaration that says heaven moved, and I responded, Amen. A thank you, beloved, for walking through this sacred moment with me. If this prayer touched your heart and you feel it is true, I invite you to leave a comment below and simply say, I receive what heaven released. Let that be your declaration, your voice joining with what has already been written in heaven. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel to keep walking in step with what God is unfolding. There are more messages coming, more whispers from heaven, and I would love for you to receive every one of them. Until next time, stay awake, stay aligned, and remember, heaven has already moved. Now it's your turn.